Why do you keep letting people control your emotions? Think about it. Every heartbreak that shattered you, every betrayal that kept you awake at night, every insult that still echoes in your memory, none of these things would have the power to break you if you hadn't allowed them to. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to take things personally, to care too deeply, to let the words and actions of others dictate your inner world. That, right there, was your first mistake. You've been conditioned to believe that being sensitive makes you noble, that emotional openness means authenticity. If you are loyal, honest, and loving, the world will return the favor. But what has that belief given you so far? Probably more pain than peace. Because the truth is brutal, most of the wounds you carry did not come from the events themselves, but from your decision to give them meaning, to let them seep into your soul. Niccolò Machiavelli, the Renaissance thinker feared and misunderstood for centuries, never made that mistake. He didn't view people with naive hope or sentimental faith. He studied them as a surgeon studies disease coldly, precisely, strategically. While others cried over betrayal, Machiavelli dissected the motives behind it. While others drowned in heartbreak, he asked what advantage his enemies gained from inflicting pain. He knew what most still refused to accept. If you want peace, you cannot live at the mercy of your emotions. You must learn to control what deserves your reaction and ignore what doesn't. This video is not about becoming cold-hearted. It is about becoming free. Free from the invisible chains of emotional slavery. Free from the endless cycle of being broken and rebuilt by others. Today, you'll learn how to rise above the noise, to become someone untouchable. Not because you feel nothing, but because you finally decide who and what is worth feeling for. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll all be the first to know when I release the next video with insights that can shift your mind, sharpen your perspective, and help you walk through life with unshakable strength. Most of us live under a spell so subtle we don't even notice it. It's the belief that if we are good, kind, loyal, and honest, the world will reward us with fairness. That people will reciprocate what we give them. That if we show love, we'll receive love. If we stay loyal, others will stand by us. If we open our hearts, others will protect them. This belief sounds noble. It sounds human. It sounds right. But in reality, it's the single most dangerous illusion you can carry through life. Because what happens when reality doesn't match this story? You get betrayed. You get disrespected. You get abandoned. And worse, you interpret those events as personal failures, as signs that you were not enough. That's how this illusion enslaves you. It sets up expectations that reality never promised to fulfill. Machiavelli understood this better than almost anyone. Living in the brutal politics of Renaissance Italy, he saw a world where alliances shifted overnight, where the same man who praised you at dinner could be plotting your downfall before morning. He observed one chilling truth: people do not act out of love, they act out of self-interest. Love, loyalty, honesty, these are masks. Useful, yes. Inspiring, sometimes. But fragile. And when interests change, those masks drop. The mistake weak people make is assuming betrayal is the exception. They are shocked when someone lies, when a friend disappears, when loyalty evaporates the moment it's inconvenient. They spiral into heartbreak, asking, "How could they do this to me?" But Machiavelli would never ask that question. He already knew the answer. They did it because it served them. Look back on your own life. How many times have you been there, giving your best to someone, believing your devotion guaranteed their care, only to realize you were replaceable? Maybe it was a partner who promised forever, but walked away when the relationship demanded real work. Maybe it was a friend who shared laughter with you, but vanished the second you stopped being useful. Maybe it was a workplace where years of loyalty were rewarded with indifference the moment you became expendable. Each time you told yourself, "This is unusual," It won't happen again, but it did. And it will until you face what Machiavelli saw so clearly. Betrayal isn't the outlier, it is the rule. Not because humans are monsters, but because they are driven by need, by ambition, by survival. They aren't thinking about your heart when they make their decisions. They're thinking about themselves. Does that sound cruel? Perhaps, but it's also liberating. Because once you see betrayal not as a wound to your soul, but as a fact of human behavior, it loses its sting. It becomes information, data. Instead of drowning in pain, you can ask, what did this person gain by doing that? Instead of feeling broken, you begin to see patterns. Instead of being blindsided, you learn to anticipate. And anticipation is power. Think of it this way. If you expect loyalty to be eternal, you will always be surprised, always be hurt, always be disarmed when it breaks. But if you accept loyalty as conditional, based on interests, on benefits, on circumstances, you stop being shocked. You stop collapsing when people reveal their true motives. You start to understand the mechanics of human interaction. This doesn't mean you must turn into a cynic who trusts no one, loves no one, and hopes for nothing. That's not Machiavelli's point, and it's not mine. It means you stop being naive. You stop demanding that reality follow the fairy tale script. You stop handing over your emotional well-being in exchange for promises no one can keep. You engage with people, knowing the rules of the game. And in that awareness, you free yourself from the prison of false expectations. Imagine how much lighter life becomes when betrayal no longer feels like a personal dagger, but like a weather pattern you expected. The storm may still come, but you no longer stand outside, unprepared, drenched in disbelief. You have a roof, a plan, and a calm mind, because you saw the clouds gathering. Machiavelli would say, most people suffer not because others betray them, but because they believed betrayal was impossible. They mistake politeness for loyalty, flattery for love, and attention for commitment. And when the illusion shatters, they collapse. But if you refuse to carry that illusion, if you see people as they are, motivated by self-interest, you become immune to that collapse. Your peace will no longer depend on whether others treat you fairly. Your worth will no longer shatter when someone withdraws their love. Your trust will no longer be blind. It will be measured, strategic, and aware. This is the turning point. Accept this, and no one can ever truly disappoint you again. You may still feel pain, but it won't break you. You may still face betrayal, but it won't surprise you. Because you finally stopped expecting reality to be kinder than it is. And once you do that, you've taken your first step toward becoming untouchable. Think about the last time someone insulted you. Maybe it was a coworker who dismissed your efforts, a partner who mocked your feelings, or even a stranger online who attacked you with careless words. What did you do? Did you defend yourself? Did you lash out? Did you replay their words in your mind, losing hours of peace? If so, you gave them something far more valuable than a reaction. You gave them control. This is the hidden mechanism most people never see. Every time you react emotionally, you hand over your power. Anger, heartbreak, begging for answers, these are not just emotions. They are signals that tell the other person, I can reach you, I can manipulate you, I can bend your spirit with my actions. Machiavelli understood this dynamic with chilling clarity. He knew that to rule others, you must first master yourself. A man whose emotions can be provoked is a man already conquered. Here is the paradox. Most people believe expressing emotions makes them strong. They equate openness with authenticity, vulnerability with courage. And yes, in the right place with the right people, those things can build a connection. But in the brutal reality of power, they are weaknesses waiting to be exploited. Machiavelli would say, if someone can trigger your rage, they can use your rage. If they can make you jealous, they can direct your actions. If they can break your heart, they can control your choices. Emotion becomes the leash you put around your own neck. So how do you break free? The answer is not to feel nothing. It is to practice emotional discipline. Imagine your emotions as fire. In the wild, uncontrolled, fire consumes everything. It destroys you first, then others. But contained, directed fire becomes a tool. It warms, it builds, it fuels. Machiavelli believed the same of feelings. They must never rule you. They must serve you. Consider this in daily life. In business, imagine a negotiation where someone insults your proposal, hoping to destabilize you. The untrained person gets flustered, defensive, and desperate to prove their worth. But the Machiavellian mind, it stays silent, observing. The insult bounces off like air. Suddenly, the power dynamic flips. The other side becomes unsettled because they cannot read you, cannot provoke you, cannot predict you. In love, imagine a partner testing your limits with silence, withdrawal, or harsh words. The average person spirals chasing, apologizing, begging for reconciliation. But the disciplined one, they remain calm. They do not chase because they know chasing gives away leverage. They do not beg because they know affection taken by force is worthless. Instead, they withdraw into strength, showing that their peace is not negotiable. And in that moment, the partner realizes they cannot control what they cannot shake. Even in social life, this principle applies. Someone mocks you in public, expecting your anger to entertain the crowd. But instead, you smile faintly or you say nothing. The silence lingers. The crowd feels awkward, but not at your expense at theirs. You've shifted the weight back onto the one who tried to provoke you. By refusing to react, you made them smaller. This is the heart of Machiavelli's insight. Silence can be louder than outrage. Indifference can be more intimidating than aggression. Calmness can be more dominant than any display of force. Emotional control is not weakness. It is a form of psychological warfare. The key is practice. You must train yourself to pause before reacting, to ask, what do they gain from me reacting? To observe your own triggers. Who gets under your skin? What situations make you unravel? Which words cut deepest? Once you know them, you can dismantle them. Next time someone tries to provoke you, experiment with silence. Next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, resist. Next time you crave revenge, wait. Every withheld reaction is a victory. Every moment of calm is proof that you are no longer a puppet pulled by invisible strings. Because in the end, the strongest man is not the one who shouts the loudest. It is the one who cannot be moved against his will. The one who turns every attack into air, every insult into nothing. The one who controls himself so completely that no one else can control him. That is the beginning of true power. Now that you understand the mechanism of emotional control, the question becomes, how do you build this discipline into a way of life? How do you transform from someone who is constantly provoked, constantly drained, constantly controlled, into someone who is unreadable, untouchable, and free? This is where Machiavelli's strategy enters. At its core, the Machiavellian strategy is about mastering the appearance of emotion while never being ruled by it. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane, but to know when and how to be the opposite. In other words, you can show the world what is useful, but you never reveal what is real. Emotional discipline is the art of turning feelings into tools, not chains. Think of your emotions as cards in a deck. Most people play their hand openly. They show anger when they are angry, fear when they are afraid, love when they are in love. This makes them predictable, easy to manipulate. The Machiavellian doesn't do that. He keeps his cards close. He reveals only what strengthens his position, never what exposes him. If charm will open doors, he uses it. If silence will intimidate, he remains quiet. If controlled anger will inspire respect, he channels it. But he never lets anyone know his true vulnerability. One of the first rules of this strategy is to stop oversharing. In today's world, people are taught that honesty means exposure, that speaking every doubt, every wound, every weakness makes them authentic. But authenticity without boundaries is self-destruction. Every detail you reveal becomes ammunition. When you confess your insecurities, someone will use them to cut you down. When you share your pain, someone will tolerate it until they can weaponize it. Machiavelli would say, guard your inner world like a fortress. Show less. Say less. Let people see only what benefits you for them to see. This doesn't mean isolation. It means selectivity. You decide who earns the right to know you. You decide what pieces of yourself are shared and when. You stop scattering your inner life around like coins on the street, and instead treat your emotions as rare currency, given sparingly, with intent. The second rule is indifference. Most people rise and fall based on the approval or rejection of others. They are ecstatic when praised and devastated when criticized. That is slavery. Machiavelli's strategy is to cut the cord. To build your worth on something untouchable, your own standards, your own judgment, your own sovereignty. Praise doesn't inflate you. Criticism doesn't break you. Both are processed with the same calm, noted, but not defining. Third, use unpredictability. When people know exactly how you'll react, they can plan around you. They can push your buttons, set traps, and manipulate your moves. But when you are unreadable, when your reaction cannot be anticipated, you hold the upper hand. Sometimes you smile when expected. Sometimes you stay silent when they want you enraged. Sometimes you disappear when they thought you'd chase. This unpredictability keeps people cautious, unsure, and off balance. And that is power. Let's take an example. Imagine you're in the workplace, and someone tries to undermine you in front of your boss. Most people would rush to defend themselves, spilling explanations, showing desperation to prove their worth. That reaction gives the manipulator exactly what they wanted: evidence of your insecurity. The Machiavellian, he doesn't scramble. He observes, calmly notes the attack, and responds with precision later, when it matters. His silence unsettles both the attacker and the audience, because they cannot read him. And later, when he does act, it is decisive. Or in relationships, imagine your partner withdraws affection to make you chase. If you panic, text endlessly, or beg for reassurance, you've just handed over control. But if you remain calm, unshaken, unwilling to beg, you flip the script. Suddenly, the silence is theirs to endure, not yours. They realize their game no longer works because you no longer collapse without their approval. At its deepest level, Machiavelli's strategy is about redefining strength. It's not about domination in the crude sense. It's about composure, restraint, and sovereignty. It's about recognizing that the world will never reward your openness, but it will always respect your discipline. Coldness, then, is not the goal. Freedom is. When you stop being dependent on others for validation, when you stop giving them the keys to your emotional state, you are not cold, you are liberated. You can still love, still connect, still care, but you do it from choice, not from need. You give without being enslaved. You trust without being blind. You engage with life on your own terms, immune to the manipulations that break most people. Machiavelli's strategy is simple to describe, but hard to live. Guard your inner world. Practice indifference. Remain unpredictable. And if you can master these three, you will no longer be just another pawn on the board. You will become the one others cannot predict, cannot provoke, cannot control. The one who, in silence, holds the real power. Niccolò Machiavelli is remembered for a single line that has echoed through history. It is better to be feared than loved. Critics have twisted it into a justification for cruelty, while admirers see it as raw realism. But few stop to ask what Machiavelli was really pointing to. Beneath the harshness lies a truth that feels just as urgent today as it did in Renaissance Florence. Love is fragile. Fear is powerful. But beyond both lies something greater: self-mastery. Let's unpack this. Why would Machiavelli say fear is better than love? Because love depends on others, while fear depends on you. Love is voluntary. It fades. It shifts. It bends with time and circumstance. Fear, on the other hand, is within your control. It is not about sadism or violence. It is about creating boundaries so strong that others cannot dismiss you, cannot manipulate you, cannot treat you lightly. To be feared is to be respected, to be untouchable. Now let's bring this into the modern world. Today, very few of us are princes ruling over kingdoms, but all of us rule something. Our lives, our choices, our inner world. And here's the problem. Most people still place their rule in the hands of others. They measure their worth by attention, by affection, by validation. If someone loves them, they feel valuable. If someone criticizes them, they collapse. Their sovereignty is outsourced. Their identity is rented out. That is why Machiavelli's wisdom matters now more than ever. To be feared, in our context, does not mean to terrorize others. It means to build such emotional discipline that people cannot dismiss you, cannot shake you, cannot bend you. It means your silence carries weight, your presence commands attention, and your withdrawal unsettles. That is not cruelty, it is sovereignty. But there's another dimension to explore. While Machiavelli gave us the language of power, the Stoics and Eastern philosophers gave us the language of freedom. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic thinker, wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The Stoics and Machiavelli were looking at the same battlefield of life, but offering two complementary strategies. Machiavelli said, "Don't trust appearances, expect betrayal. Play the game strategically." The Stoics said, "Detach from what you can't control. Master your reactions, remain calm." Even Eastern traditions echo this truth. In Buddhism, freedom is not the absence of pain, but the absence of attachment to pain. In Taoism, power comes not from grasping but from flowing, from bending like water rather than breaking like stone. And what is Machiavelli's indifference if not another way of saying, don't let the world own your emotions. Choose when and how to respond. Together, these philosophies point toward a single conclusion. Self-mastery is the ultimate power. To Machiavelli, it was the foundation of ruling others. To the Stoics, it was the foundation of ruling oneself. And in the modern world, where manipulation is constant through media, through relationships, through the endless noise of society, self-mastery is not optional. It is survival. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you were no longer a slave to praise or criticism? If betrayal no longer shocks you? If rejection no longer defines you? Imagine moving through the world steady, calm, deliberate. Imagine relationships where you choose to give love, not because you need it back, but because it aligns with your values. Imagine work where you perform not for applause, but for the excellence of the work itself. Imagine a mind so disciplined that no one, not a friend, not a lover, not an enemy, can drag you into chaos against your will. That is what Machiavelli meant beyond his famous line. It is better to be feared than loved, because fear creates control, but it is even better to be free from both. To no longer crave love desperately or fear rejection obsessively. To stand apart, untouched, balanced. That is not coldness. That is clarity. That is sovereignty. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing love, you become more lovable. When you stop craving approval, your presence commands respect. When you stop chasing, people begin to chase you. Because the one who needs nothing is the one who holds all the power. This is the deeper message hidden in Machiavelli, echoed in Stoicism, mirrored in Eastern thought. The greatest fortress you can build is not of stone or steel, but of mind. And when your inner fortress is complete, when no insult can pierce it, no betrayal can collapse it, no rejection can shake it, you will have achieved the rarest form of strength, freedom. You are no longer a pawn reacting to life. You are the storm itself. Think of what that means. A pawn moves only when pushed. It reacts to the choices of others, trapped in a game it doesn't control. Most people live exactly like that, responding to insults, chasing love, collapsing in betrayal, forever moved by the hands of others. But you are no longer one of them. By embracing Machiavelli's wisdom, by mastering emotional discipline, you step out of that prison. You stop being moved and start moving the board. When you practice silence instead of outrage, you are no longer predictable. When you choose indifference over desperation, no one can use your needs against you. When you guard your inner world like a fortress, betrayal no longer destroys you, it exposes the betrayer. And when you build your worth on your own judgment, instead of on the shifting attention of others, you become untouchable. Does this mean you feel nothing? No. It means you control everything you feel. You decide what deserves your tears, your anger, your joy. You decide who earns access to your heart. You decide what words are worth answering, what battles are worth fighting, and what noise deserves only silence. That is freedom. The world will not always understand this transformation. They will say you've changed. They will call you cold, distant, even selfish. Let them. Their words are nothing more than the chains they wish you still carried. Because what you've become terrifies those who rely on manipulation to survive. They cannot fool what does not react. They cannot control what does not need them. From this moment forward, betrayal may still come, but it will not break you. Rejection may sting, but it will not define you. Loss may hurt, but it will not end you. Because you have built your throne on something immovable, yourself. You have become sovereign, independent, whole. Remember this. Storms do not ask permission to exist. They do not bend to the expectations of others. They arrive, they move, they command, and you calm, deliberate, unreadable, are now that storm. You are no longer at the mercy of others. Nothing and nobody will ever affect you again. Before you go, if this message spoke to you, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss the next deep dive into philosophy, psychology, and self-mastery. And I want to hear from you. What lesson struck you the hardest today? Was it Machiavelli's warning about betrayal, the call to emotional discipline, or the reminder that freedom comes from within? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your reflections might be exactly what someone else needs to hear.